Thank you for watching Ben Television. This is the program you've been waiting for. You decide. We give you information, facts, and analysis. But at the end of the day, you decide. We have got so many issues to discuss today, and we have in our kitty someone who is very special to Nigeria, and I'll be introducing him in a second. But let me first of all welcome our usual guest, Otumba Bode Oseni. You are welcome to the program.
Good morning, Doc, and good morning, everybody.
We have our in-house analyst, Azu Gosin. Azu, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Doc. Good morning, everyone out there.
And we have our in-house researcher, Nat Iyako. Nat, you are welcome to the program. Nat, can you hear me?
He has to unmute himself.
Okay,
I can hear you.
Okay, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I told you we have a special guest today, and he is the Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of INEC. So, in fact, I can say we have INEC with us here. He's as good as the chairman himself. He is is it Chief Rotimi Lawrence Oyekomi? Or let me just be clear. Let me just say, how do I address you, sir?
Simply, Mr. Sir.
I'm just being cheeky. You're welcome, Mr. Oyekomi. We are glad to have you on. This is the first black television station in the whole of Europe, and we bridge the gap and we try and tell the world the good things we are doing in Nigeria. And so we're so happy that you are here with us. We want to ask you issues. We want you to update us on what is going on in Nigeria concerning the elections in Edo and Ondo. But let me first of all ask you, sir. I know the procedure, INEC, the procedure of INEC in watching the primaries in APC or PDP or all of the parties. How do you cope with about 92 parties going to watch their primaries to be sure that they do all of these, especially in this special case of Edo State we have on our hands?
Thank you very much, sir. When you talk about 92 political parties, you are referring to the situation before the 2019 general election.
Okay.
But after 2019 general election, 74 political parties were deregistered.
Okay.
In accordance with the fourth alteration to the 1999 Constitution, which gave INEC some additional powers to assess all political parties based on some parameters. And after the 2019 general elections, all the political parties were evaluated, and those that did not meet the criteria were deregistered. So as I speak, Nigeria has only 18 registered political parties.
Wow, that is good news. That is good news. Now, are all these 18 political parties contesting for the Edo gubernatorial election?
No, not all the 18. 14 are actually contesting.
And did you attend their primaries?
Of course we did.
How will you assess their primaries? Will you say this is a kind of, that they were up to the level that you would have loved them to be?
Well, you know, we are neutral, and party primaries is essentially a party affair. We are observers. The law makes it mandatory that INEC be notified when they want to conduct their primaries. So we go there to monitor events and we write our reports. But it is the responsibility of political parties to ensure that they conduct their primaries according to their own rules and according to the extant rules. When I talk about extant rules, I'm talking about the 2010 Electoral Act. And we will submit our own reports. Our officers that go there, that we send there, will write a full report and submit to us internally. And then we will wait for their own nominations.
I have a particular question for you, sir. You said you deregistered some 74 political parties or something like. Do you think they were happy? You said it's according to the law, but what if those parties say we don't like what you have done and it's not that democratic because they may come up tomorrow?
In fact, some of them have been going to court, and so far, I think within the last couple of weeks, the Federal High Court in various judgments have said that INEC was right. Some of them have approached the court to say that what we did was illegal, was unconstitutional, and they challenged that vehemently. Of course, they weren't happy. Initially, when we made the announcement, we came under severe attacks. We are used to attacks anyway. And we went down with conspiracy theories and all of that, and we are trying to disenfranchise them and all of that. And granted interviews abusing the INEC chairman, abusing practically all the national commissioners. Of course, we didn't mind them because we knew exactly why they were angry. And some of them went to court. And just a couple of days ago, I think, I can't remember the particular name of the political party that went to court, and the court finally said no. And that to be about the fourth or fifth judgment in the last month that the court had said consistently that INEC had the power and authority to register them.
I don't want to base too much on that because I know you are very busy, and rightly so. But what if they argue, some of them argue that they are only 1 year old, and that you might have probably jumped into conclusion and not given them time to permeate the different depths of the Nigerian society?
Well, let me start this way. When we were measuring the political parties against the parameters of the fourth alteration to the 1999 Constitution, we discovered that we had only 16 political parties that were qualified. But out of the 75 that we initially penciled down, by some stroke of luck, I don't know, one of them got wind of it and quickly went to court and was able to obtain a restraining order.
Okay.
Not deregistered. So that was why the number is now 74 instead of 75. So the number of political parties that should have remained will have been 16. But one of them was registered after the 2019 general elections. So we could not align the parameters with that party in terms of performance. So that party was not deregistered. That's the 17th. Then the 18th, of course, was the political party that obtained a restraining order. So the case is still in court. And if at the end of the day, the court
rules in your favor.
Yes. So that's it. They can argue that the parameters, like I said, is the most recent alteration to the Constitution by of course, those saddled with the responsibility of making laws. And it was just based on that we acted.
Okay, thank you very much. We've been following the going-ons in the Nigerian politics, and especially in the Edo gubernatorial election. How are you, sir, going to ensure that it will not be a bitter election? And number one, we don't want no Nigerian will want inconclusive election, and no Nigerian will want the judiciary to determine who the governor is. What are the things you have put in place to ensure that all these inconclusive election results will not come, and that the judiciary doesn't determine our governor?
Thank you very much, sir. And this is a very important question. INEC's responsibility is to conduct elections. And in conducting elections, we need the cooperation of all stakeholders, most especially the political parties and their candidates, and of course, the voters. Now, we released a timetable and schedule of activities containing 14 activities. And so far, we have gotten to a stage where in respect of Edo, they have submitted the list of candidates and we have 14 for governor and deputy governor. Now, we will have noticed, sir, or you will have noticed that there had been, drum beats of war in Edo.
Yes, yes.
We have been in touch with the security agencies. In fact, under the auspices of Inter-Consultative Committee on Election Security, INEC meets with security agencies, all of them on a regular basis. So the last meeting that INEC had, the INEC chairman appealed to the Inspector General of Police that from what we are hearing, Edo might turn out to be a little bit tough, that they should engage early with political actors and get a firm commitment from them so that we have peaceful election. That no election is worth the life of a human being. So we hope that the political actors, they've always assured us that they will submit themselves to the rules and regulations, that there will be no violence and all of that. But from experience, we know with what happened in Kogi and Bayelsa the last time, sometimes you can't trust political actors, or maybe you can't trust their supporters. But really, if everybody abides by the extant laws, rules and regulations, we won't have violence. Election is a joyful activity. In Nigeria, you have your permanent voters card, you go to your polling unit, you cast your ballot. It's a system of simultaneous accreditation and voting. Ordinarily, if things go well, a voter should not spend up to 5 minutes in the polling unit between the time you're accredited and the time you are given the ballot paper to thumbprint or fingerprint, and then you leave. If you feel like staying around the polling unit area until the results are declared, you are free to do so, as long as you stay some meters away and you don't cause any form of disruption. If we all do that.
Thank you, sir. I still have a few questions, and I'm going to ask my colleagues who are normal, regular panelists to raise up their hand if they want to ask you a question. But I still have a few questions. The gubernatorial election coming up in Edo and Ondo states later this year, they seem to be very peculiar. You recall that the governor of Edo State was there on the back of APC. I know you don't delve into political issues. And now he is a member of the PDP. And the man who contested last time on PDP ticket is now on APC's ticket. And that will have raised a load of tension within the community. We in the diaspora were a bit skeptical as to the extent to which there could be a fracas. And has INEC taken this into consideration, listening to you saying that, yes, you meet with the police and all the other officials, but has this been seriously taken into consideration, sir?
We are worried because you see, sir, INEC does not have enough staff members to conduct elections. So we take ad hoc staff consisting mainly of the National Youth Service Corps members. So it's actually our children that are going to conduct this election. Now, Edo has 192 registration areas and about 2,627 polling units, 18 local governments. In all of those polling units, we are going to have, of course, INEC officials and majorly the presiding officers and the assistant presiding officers who are going to be the National Youth Service Corps members. So when you unleash violence on the unit, you're actually unleashing violence on our children. That is the implication.
That's true.
You know, it's so sad that in past elections, we've had a situation where we lose some of these youth corps members. And sometimes the parents are even questioning the rationale of using them. So in order not to drag the issue, we have appealed to security agents because the primary role of the security agencies is to secure the environment. We have a security architecture that we use each time we want to conduct elections of this nature, because this is end of tenure election and is a major one, is governorship. And the security architecture is well known to even the politicians themselves. Now, based on the reports of the security risk assessment carried out by the security agencies themselves and INEC, we then harmonize. We know the trouble spots in Edo. We will talk about these things, and talks are going now, ongoing now. But the Inspector General of Police and other sister agencies have assured us that they will do their best to make sure that the election is peaceful. So we hope that all the promises being made by both the political actors themselves,
yes,
agencies, will be fulfilled.
Okay, before my colleagues have signed up that they want to ask me questions, but before I allow them, could you please tell us comprehensively how you intend to make a social distance during this occasion, as we have seen that infection of COVID-19 is on the rise in Nigeria. And so what are the things that you have put in place? Will people be using their face masks? And if you don't have a face mask, it means you cannot vote, or can you vote? If you don't keep social distance and all their rules, what if they decide to be unruly and do it the wrong way? How do you intend to ensure that democratic rights is not thrown out?
Thank you very much, sir. The first assumption is that all Nigerians are reasonable. And we expect,
even at the polling booths.
Yes, we expect all voters that will turn up on 19th September for the Edo election to be reasonable. But on 15th May, we discussed the issue of a policy for conducting election in the context of COVID-19. And by 21st May, we released that policy. And in that policy, we described what to expect, what voters should expect, and what they are also, what they're expected to do. For instance, in all our polling unit and registration areas, INEC will provide a face mask for its own officials and infrared thermometer for its own officials. But all voters are expected to come to the polling unit with their face mask. And
for instance, if they don't come, what do you do?
I don't think if they don't come, they might not be allowed to vote, because we are doing this in conjunction with the NCDC, domiciled in the states, and Federal Ministry of Health officials, and we've been discussing that this is very important. If you check our social media pages, we have even released a video clip on the code of conduct for voters, in which we describe in details what the voters are supposed to do. And that's why I said that.
Mr. Ikomi, you use two negative words together. I don't think they might not. We want, if you don't mind, can you use one positive statement? You don't use your mask, you are not voting. Is that what you are saying, sir?
That's the assumption. That's the assumption as of now. Because you see, I don't know what can happen between now and then. Because talks are ongoing, there are people saying that INEC should be the decision to provide face masks for people. But we don't have the funds. We are happy to do it if the government gives us the money, because in any case, the total number of registered voters in Edo is 2.2 million. Although about 483,000 PVCs are yet to be collected. So I think that we will have about 1.6, 1.7 people if they all turn up 100% to vote. So it will just be like buying face mask for 1.7, but we don't have the funds. In fact, the funds we are going to use to conduct the election, we have to go back to the government, to National Assembly to ask for it. So we expect that as it exists now, when you are going out, it's compulsory for you to have your face mask. So we expect that everybody will have the face mask. And then another issue about this policy is that if either the voter or INEC official shows signs of COVID-19,
yes,
we will ask the NCDC official around to come and take a look. And that
in all the polling booths, in all the riverine areas, in all the villages and all those places, is it possible, sir?
That's what we are planning to do. Because it's not just, the measures are not just in place for the voters, it's also in place for our own staff, our own adult staff, that if they show signs of COVID-19, I will call the attention of the NCDC and health officials, who will then isolate the person immediately. We don't expect these things to happen, but we just have to make provision. The idea is that we don't want to disenfranchise people, but at the same time, we are going to ensure that all our staff and all voters are safe and are able to exercise their franchise without catching the virus.
All right, sir. I want to allow my colleagues to come the way they have raised up their hands. So it's my pleasure to invite Otumba Bode-Oseni to ask the Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of INEC question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson, for giving me the opportunity. Hello, Alagbarutime.
Yes,
sir. You said voting is a thing of joy, that the electorate should be looking forward to every 4 years to elect, not select their representatives or their governors and at different levels. Now, what concerns people like somebody like me living in Europe is 99% of the elections in Nigeria are mostly rigged. And rigging is such a terrible thing in a civil society where you cannot rely on outcome of an election. But then
you
again,
mean allegedly rigged. Allegedly rigged.
Okay, you can add that if you like, but that's your addition. Now, the question I want to ask is, with the amount of money, a frightening, a serious, humongous amount of money given to your organization, what exactly do you lack that you still cannot conduct a free and fair election that will be short of immediately after the result, 80% of the participants are on their way to electoral tribunal. From there, they even go up to Supreme Court. What exactly is going on?
Thank you so much, sir. I have had your type of question over and over again, especially from distinguished Nigerians in diaspora. First of all, from 2015 up till now, elections in Nigeria have gotten better and better. And I will crave your indulgence to let me quickly analyze those issues. After 2015 elections, which was generally applauded both locally and internationally, this commission came on board in November of 2015. And we got our hands right on the issues. The first problem we have in Nigeria is the lack of the spirit of sportsmanship among politicians. It's a very serious problem. The average politician in Nigeria does not believe that he can lose election. So this do or die attitude, it's a problem. Now, when I talk about the spirit of sportsmanship, it means that you either win or lose and you be prepared to accept. Now, our own responsibility is to ensure that we provide a level playing field, which we have always done. In fact, this commission has been extremely transparent about what we have been doing. There is no policy that we introduce that we don't involve all stakeholders. But you guess what, sir? The politicians will come and listen to all the reforms and innovations that we are introducing, and immediately they depart. Some of them will go and start engaging in counterproductive measures to make sure we don't succeed. Now, between 2015 and pre-2019, INEC conducted over 195 different types of elections. Rerun elections, by-elections, end-of-tenure elections. And of all those elections, only 2 were nullified by the courts. And the nullification is not that the election was not properly conducted. It was that, no, give the certificate of return to person B instead of person A that you have given those things to. And you will also have observed that vote buying became a phenomenon suddenly in Ekiti. When the politicians found that the use of smart card readers and the improved processes and procedure of INEC became like something they cannot penetrate, they then decided to take their voting the fraudulent activities to the from voters. And funny enough, some of the voters play ball, they accept money, and then they vote. And that was why we had to now ban smartphones around the polling unit area. That no, when you want to vote, you cannot go into the polling booth area with a smartphone, you have to submit it. So if we didn't introduce those measures, and if politicians didn't find those measures tough or impossible to beat, they won't do that. So we are constantly improving, and we are really, really improved. That's one. Two, if you have been following the election result that we have been conducting, you find that the era of landslide victory is gone. In those days, you find one big party winning 80% of the votes, right? And then the other party struggling with 20%. But right now, the margin of lead is very slim. And that shows that votes count. Then this commission introduced what we call the People's Result Sheet from Anambra election that we conducted in 2017. What does it mean? It means that at every polling unit, I said that Edo has 2,627 polling units. In this election, the result of each polling unit must be pasted at a conspicuous place on that day of election, that September 19. After the close of poll, after sorting and counting the votes, the results of that particular polling unit will be pasted. So all local and international observers that are in that polling unit and all voters can snap and record that, and then they can do the collation. That was what happened in Anambra. Before INEC could officially announce the result in Anambra, the results were already known to civil society organizations because of that result sheets that we posted. So if we post that, even our poll officials cannot go to the collation center and take a different figure because they can be countered. Because those who saw the original result will say, no, you are trying to manufacture figures. This is what is pasted there. And the party agent at that polling unit will also sign that, okay, this result that you pasted is true because the votes will be counted in their presence, will be sorted, and if they want a recount, the law gives them the right to demand for a recount, and it will be recounted. So those are the things that we have put in place, and we have also improved the issue of the use of our smart card readers. Professor Jega brought smart card reader for 2015, and it helped tremendously. And because of that, it's not going to be easy for you to rig election because we will be able to harvest the number of those that were accredited. And our PVCs has some security features that if you go and duplicate or fake another one, once we slot it into our machine, it will tell us it is not yours because the security that we have there, the chip that we have there, all the things that we have there will bring out your details, your photograph, your thumbprint features, and your details will come out of the smart card reader, and then it will tell us that you are the person. But if the smart card reader cannot read your permanent voter's card, you will not be allowed to vote. So,
okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. We have had that one. I'm sure there are one or two other people who want to ask you a question. Gossin, as you are raising up your hand.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, viewers, and morning to our guest from INEC. I just have a very two quick questions to ask you. One is that why is it that Nigerian INEC has not deemed it fit to look at how to make use of primary school, secondary school teachers instead of bringing in our young kids from NYLC to risk their life, helping them to conduct elections in Nigeria? I'm not sure if that is the case, but I believe that if that was the case, INEC shouldn't be engaging the youth corps as much as they are engaging them now, because in the Western world, most elections are conducted by making use of their secondary school, primary school teachers at all polling booths and collation centers and their tertiary institutions lecturers. I know we use mostly the tertiary institution lecturers or professors, but then these professors in many occasions, we have seen them being highly corrupt? Why is it that INEC is not looking at
allegedly corrupt?
Well, we have seen those that have been arrested at the election booths. It's not allegedly. You're arrested. It's like you're committed a crime. So don't let us paint it blue and black. Paint it white the way it is. And secondly, I mean, you have said something here that I feel that INEC is actually in one way aiding and abetting state capture by some of these politicians. INEC cannot come and say to a court hearing and be able to defend what they said is the result they collated. And this is the case of Imo State. Somebody came from nowhere and declared 300 and something thousand votes from nowhere, and INEC couldn't defend the actual result that they declared, that is the result they had, and that's the result they collected. And secondly, you talked about the Anambra something. It has been very much challenged that most of the results that come up as rumor or as social media results sometimes tallies and sometimes do not tally with what INEC eventually declares. So in many cases, the actual final result that INEC releases does not tally with what you are saying is the people's result that people actually post before the INEC result. And that has been the case in many elections. So please, how can INEC make things work? I am not in agreement with you that INEC has done better. Situations of elections in Nigeria has remained perpetually almost in the same quarter. Let
him answer. Thank you, sir. You've heard his question. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Primary school teachers, why is INEC not using them? It was Professor Atahiru Jegada introduced the idea of using National Youth Service Corps members, and there was a reason for it. Before, there were a set of individuals, I don't want to mention their names, who were used for elections, but the commission had serious issues. Therefore, we then decided that we will bring in university lecturers and use UCOM members to conduct elections for us. And honestly, we are extremely proud of the National Youth Service Corps members. They are very, very intelligent, they are very hardworking, and they have helped the commission. If we are beating our chest today that we are conducting good elections, there's no way we will have done that without National Youth Service Corps members. And the university lecturers have also been good. Yes, we've had issues with one or two, but the number of those that have misbehaved is very, very insignificant compared to the mass number of those that we take in a general election situation, for instance. Now, depending on the kind of election we are conducting, where we don't have enough National Youth Service Corps members, we use federal civil servants. But you see, in taking election officials, you also have to be very careful who you take. So there is a particular source that we go to, and where we get those names, they have to take responsibility, because you don't want to take political party supporters as election officials. You don't want that to be. Even as much as we are trying, you will still find allegations from political parties saying that we have, one party will say, oh, we have taken members of the political party as our officials and all of that and all of that. So that is the reason. But if tomorrow the commission or the situation deems it necessary that we can bring in primary school teachers, why not? We'll do that. Integrity of results. Well, sir, I understand your position. I think generally in Nigeria, it is very difficult for us to trust anything government or trust our institutions. And we have good reason for that. When you see some of the things coming out as revelations from some of our public institutions, it's very disheartening. But honestly, at INEC, we cannot hide. And we cannot hide because everything we do is in the public eye. Everybody's interested in what happens. But coming back to the Anambra that you said, you see, posting of results on social media is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the idea that we introduced. The form is called from EC60E, where the polling officials are required. It's in our regulations and rules that after the close of poll, for that particular polling unit, for the number of votes that you have, you must sort those votes, count them, and record the votes against the political party that are the owners of those votes, and then paste it. And what I was saying when I referred to a number was that in that election, you can Google it, it's there. You can see what even the civil society organization that used to criticize INEC, on that occasion, they had a different view because it was very clear. So what I was saying is that those who were at those polling units had those figures, and then they went to our collation center and were able to tabulate and waited for what INEC would do. And by the time INEC declared the official result, it was very clear. So it is this part of this trust issue that INEC is trying to address, because part of our vision and mission is to be transparent. So we'll continue.
All right, sir. Because of time, we have about 3 other questions, and 2 of them are from the public. So if I see any question that you should not answer, we stop it. But you don't mind to answer questions from the public, sir?
No, I don't, sir.
All right. We have Dr. Akindele. He lives here in England. And so Dr. Akindele, fire on. Dr. Akindele.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I'm just, my question is, how far is INEC and the government or an NGO, how far
It appears
is just civil duties? It's not a war. How far you're doing on that?
Dr. Akindele, please repeat your question. The network wasn't too great. Please repeat that question.
Yeah, my question is to the INEC gentleman. How far is INEC, NGO, and other political institutions doing regarding educating our people about, the election as basic civil duties rather than wars?
Thank you very much, sir. We engage in massive voter education innovations. In other words, we run radio programs. We go to the states. I can't remember how many radio stations that we had what we call INEC half hour in the last quarter. Over 100 radio stations domiciled in rural areas and states across the country. And on AIT and NTA, we used to run those programs too. But remember that these things are extremely expensive, and to run a 30-minute program on a major network like NTA costs a lot of money, especially if it is prime time. There are times they refer to us as prime time. And even if you place an advert in the newspaper, like The Guardian, for instance, you for a full page, you'll be looking at almost 600,000 naira. So INEC does not have that, but we're extremely happy with our social media platforms. Now, our Twitter handle has about 1.6 million followers. Our Facebook page has less than 500,000. And for us, it's a good thing, but when you look at our number of registered voters, over 84 million, you then find that having 1.6 followers when we have 84 million is a far cry. So when elections are coming, we engage in town hall meetings. Our staff in the states, like Edo, for instance, will go to marketplaces when they have market days to talk about free and fair elections and talk about, the dangers of violence and talk about those things that constitute electoral offenses. And we'll continue to do that. We engage with traditional rulers and religious leaders because we know that religious leaders have a lot of influence. Our Muslim clerics on Friday, during Friday prayers, we implore them to please use the opportunity to talk to their adherents or to avoid electoral violence and all of that. So our Reverend
all right, sir. Sir, we still have 2 more questions coming your way. The first one now is from a lady. We have Comrade Mary here with us. Comrade Mary, what would you like to ask?
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, My concern is regarding electronic voting. Why can't the government just introduce that? Because with that, I believe that most of the discrepancies that we see in the electoral process will be curtailed. And also, the issue of compromising, the officials being compromised can also be dealt with. So why can't we, in earnest, adopt electronic voting instead of going around the cycle and using people that we know can be bought? Thank you.
Sir.
Can I go on, sir?
Yes, sir.
Madam, you have made a very important point. It's a great question. And in fact, in March, just before COVID-19 struck, for the first time ever, INEC had a retreat on the reform of the legal framework with the two committees of the National Assembly, the House of Rep Committee on Electoral Matters and the Senate Committee on INEC. It has never happened. And one of the things that was discussed at that retreat, it was a week-long retreat in Lagos. The Senate, the Deputy Senate President was there. The chair of the House Committee, Aisha Duku, was there. Very interesting, very engaging. One of the things that we discussed was the use of electronic voting, and the National Assembly is well disposed to it. First of all, the Constitution as we have it now does not recognize electronic voting. So they have agreed to deal with that aspect, which is very good. So we are very hopeful that 2023 general elections will be on the way to electronic voting. And the National Assembly has promised us that comprehensive amendments to both the 1999 Constitution and the 2010 Electoral Act will be undertaken before the end of this year. And we hope that if those amendments are done to reflect on what you have just said, to give INEC the power to use electronic voting, then we're on the way. But we have our mindset on it already at INEC. We are preparing for it. And once we have the green light, we are good to go.
Okay, one more question before we allow you to go. Nat Yapo. Nat.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Johnson. My main concern is this issue of the collation center. We've had over and over again figures get to the collection center, but what is announced at the end of the day are different. I don't know what plans INEC has to sort out this collection center issue. And then just a second one, in 2019, 2 hours or 3 hours to the start of the presidential and National Assembly elections, INEC just came around and said the elections cannot hold, they were not ready. But few hours before then, the INEC chairman kept assuring Nigerians that they are ready. So what's going on?
Thank you very much. Let me quickly address the last question first. Nigerians sometimes do not appreciate just how big our country is and the logistical problems that INEC faces. And I'll quickly do some rundown for you. All over Nigeria, we have 119,970 polling units, 774 local government, 36 state and the FCT. And we don't have the vehicles, we don't have the aircraft, we don't have even the motorcycles to deliver election materials. So in conducting 2019 general elections, we had to sign MOUs with transport owners, we had to sign MOUs with private aircraft carriers, because most of the sensitive materials that we are used, we are printed in different parts of the world. Now they had to fly in, and at the airport, we discovered that the infrastructure to receive this consignment and process them was not even there. We called in the Nigerian Air Force to help us. We created 6 hubs in 6 geopolitical zones, but the Air Force does not even have enough aircraft to deliver those things. We called in the central bank. The central bank came in, but it was impossible to meet the deadline. I think that as at the day that we were going to have that election, we had election materials in well over 95% of the country, remaining 5%. But you see, in a presidential setting, the whole country is regarded as one constituency for every presidential election. In other words, you cannot organize election in 95% of the country and leave 5% out. So the INEC chairman and all of us were extremely disappointed that we could not deliver election materials to that remaining 5%. And we had an option of either going on with the election and now face the backlash of what the Nigerians would say, gentlemen like you, that, oh, this issue of trust, you didn't bring election materials to this place because you don't want us to vote and all of that. It was a very, very painful decision because you know what that thing cost us? We had to reconfigure all the smart card readers. And it took over a week. The IT people couldn't do it less than a week. It was really a very painful decision, and we deeply, deeply regret that. Now, collation centers. The other gentleman mentioned the case of Imo. Sir, have you ever wondered why some politicians kidnap our returning officers at collation centers? It is because they know the results. In Imo, that happened. And what did INEC do? INEC refused to announce the results. The poor professor was kidnapped by that group of people, I don't want to mention their names, taken to a place and literally forced with a gun to his head. He sent the report to the INEC chairman, and INEC chairman refused to take the result he was asked to declare under duress. What did the guy do? As they did during Jega, they went to the court, because in court, if you are forced to declare a result, right, the court does not recognize, the law does not recognize that gun was put to your head. It is what comes out of your mouth. They are not looking at your head whether there is a rifle. 47. So the guy went to court, and today that guy is in the Senate. And this is part of what we discussed in Magda. Look, you cannot reward bad behavior. It happened during Jega's time. It happened during our time. Where politicians will kidnap our returning officer, take them to a place and put a gun to their head that declare me winner. Once that is done, they take that paper and say, okay, we'll meet in court. So there are a lot of sharp practices among some of the politicians that Nigerians don't pay attention to, but of course, we are the soft target.
Have you as an organization put forward to the National Assembly to put a law in place that such practice should not be condoned anymore?
We have done that severally, and it is part of the amendment we are asking for. We have done that.
I have a quick question. Number one, what's the relationship between INEC and State Electoral Commission? I see that Ondo State governor said there's going to be a state local government elections when he has only weeks to his own election, and we know that generally they all come with 100% result for a particular favored party. I tend to wonder, what's the relationship between the State Electoral Commission and the INEC? Why is it that in the state they have 100% result for a particular favored party?
Thank you, sir. You know, INEC is a creation of the law. The state electoral commissions, individual state electoral commissions, are also a creation of the law. In other words, each state has its own, what is called State Independent Electoral Commission, that's SIEC. They have their laws. Although when they are conducting an election, it is INEC polling units that they use. It is INEC register of voters that they use. And that is all. We cannot supervise the election. We cannot declare whatever they do illegal because they are protected by the Constitution. So, and it is only in the FCT that INEC conducts council, or what we refer to as local government election. All other states are under the state independent electoral.
Who appointed their electoral officer?
It's the state government.
Oh, okay. All right, the last question for you, sir. The last question for you. For those parties that have been deregistered, if they come up for another registration, will you register them?
Very good question. I was expecting this question. You see, the mode of the requirements for registration are so liberal, and everybody is saying it because they can come under a different name and get registered. And then we are saddled with the same problem. So right now, it's part of what we're asking the National Assembly to do, that look, you need to make registration of political party more stringent than we have it now. Okay? Because they can come back under a different name. In fact, we have over 150 applications already for registration of political parties. They are in different stages of approval and all of that, and they know this. So if they come back, they get registered, and then we go back to the same thing. And then when we have a general election again, we'll measure the parameters and then the register them. We can't keep going back and forth. But of course, it's up to the National Assembly.
For those of us in diaspora, do you have us in mind at all, or you have thrown us away from your country?
In fact, both the House and Senate committee, we have been discussing about diaspora voting, and it's really high on the cards. INEC is very enthusiastic about it. But of course, it's also about the Constitution. You know what the Constitution says? That you can only vote where you are registered. In other words, the opportunity of Nigerians living in diaspora going to the embassy, for instance, or to a special center does not arise until that clause is changed. And I think we've thrown the ball back to the National Assembly that you need to do the needful. If you do the needful, we can start. Because
Mr. Ekomi, Nigeria that law can be interpreted as you go and register in your high commission or embassy of that country, and then you can only vote where you are registered. How about that, sir?
No, you can't put words into the Constitution's mouth. You can't. The thing is so explicit and is so precise. And when the law is not straightforward like that, if you change it, it's at your own peril.
Okay. I'm going to give you the last the last say. What do you want to tell everybody? Because we have to allow you to go, then we will discuss everything you have said. What's your last say, sir, so that we can release you?
We just want Nigerians to help us. We want stakeholders to help us do our job. We can't conduct credible elections without the cooperation of Nigerians, because we are here to serve. Everything we are doing, imagine, INEC spends billions of naira and human resources preparing for an election. And on election day, some thugs will just come, disrupt the election.
How much was the budget? How much did you spend for the last presidential election, if I may ask?
Well, we were given 189 billion to conduct that election.
Was it enough?
Well, I think so. It was.
All right. Nat, is it a very quick question?
Very important.
Okay, but quickly too.
Yeah, the recent Diaspora Day in Abuja, the president of Nigeria declared to the whole world that the diaspora remittances converted into local currency is higher than the national budget. And so why wouldn't they take diaspora issues very, very seriously, even to the point of declaring Nigeria and the diaspora as the 37th state of Nigeria? And yes, because they are defranchising us, we are still Nigerians, just where our feet is not on the soil of Nigeria.
Okay, all right, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We feel your pains and we understand your concerns. We are extremely concerned too, because even the members of the armed forces serving in foreign countries are also not allowed to vote in the same manner. But let me tell you an interesting question somebody asked us, that if we start diaspora voting, that there are over 4 million Nigerians living in the Sudan, close to us. How are we going to conduct election in Sudan? And it was like, wow, that's it. Because if we say people in diaspora can vote, then that means any Nigerian living outside. So it then means that challenges will also come with that decision. In as much as we want it, some challenges will come, because diaspora is not restricted to the United States or United Kingdom or Europe. It could be Vietnam, it could be Australia, it could be Sudan, it could be South Africa. And those Nigerians are also
Mr. Ekomi, the crux of the matter, if the Constitution says that you can only register where you can only register. Why can't the diasporans register in their country, in the countries of their abode, but register and they tell their local governments so that the registration will be from where they live in the various countries, but will go to Nigeria to vote. So if I live in London, then I will register with the Nigeria High Commission in London, but I will go and vote in Nigeria. Can that be done?
Let me tell you the process of creating polling units. You know, like I said we had 119,973 polling units in this country. But that was before 2015. And now we're in 2019, the population has grown. In creating polling units, there are several agencies that will be involved, including the Boundary Commission and all of that, because they have to determine how many people are living here and measure the space and look at other parameters to create a polling unit. And then we have to configure the smart card readers for additional people that will be registered. So how are they going to now determine the one outside the country? This is part of what the law, because it's not just the law saying diaspora can vote. You have to also tell us the procedure in law so that it will be manipulated, the procedure for determining the polling unit area in the UK, for instance. Because UK is not London. There are people living outside London. Are they going to London to vote, or they will be able to vote in where they are? In the US is a very big, it's almost like a continent. Somebody living in California, you can't ask person to go to Washington, D.C.
But everybody has access to online. We all have access to online, and from there we can. But we have to, everything you have said, let me just say that we thank you very much. After you have left, we're going to dissect what you have said. We're going to analyze what you have said. Feel free to continue to listen to us, but definitely we want to chew what you have said. You have been able to educate us a lot, and we are very proud of you, Mr. Oyetomi. We wish you the very best at the Edo and the Ondo State gubernatorial election, and we use this medium to inform Nigerians to please comply with social distancing and face masking at the electoral booths. We wish you all the best, sir. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Well,